Marion head football coach Kerry Martin as we head into the third week of the season. And the Wildcats are 2-0, Coach, and that's always a good thing. I would consider a fairly impressive win over Mattoon, going on the road for a long ways and coming out ahead 43-21. Especially, I think you have to be pleased with the way your offense is performing after 2 games.
So far, so good. You know, we feel like we're off to a good start. I don't want to be overly critical, but of course, there's things we got to get better at.
Sure.
You know, we've done a pretty good job of taking care of the ball, and I think fundamentally, we seem to be improving over some things, mistakes we made against Granite City. I think we improved on some things against Mattoon. So right now, we're pleased, not satisfied, but pleased where we're at, as long as we keep getting better.
You know, Matt threw for more than 200 yards again, not only short passes, downfield passes, had several catches again from Jawan.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe the best overall night came from Henry, 105-6 yards rushing, a couple of passes, long pass completions for about 85 or 90 yards total. And, you know, especially with Henry, those catches are near or behind the line of scrimmage, so most of the yardage he gets on those are yards after catch, and he's just, you know, continues to just go out night after night and you just really pound out the work for you.
He does. He's a hard worker. He plays hard. He runs hard. He blocks well. He's developed into a better pass receiver because of his work ethic, and he's just a real go-to guy for us. You know, we don't. I don't feel like we're overly dependent on him, but I like giving him the football and seeing what he can do. And hats off to our offensive linemen, who've done a great job protecting Matt Lewis and done a great job opening holes for our 4 or 5 running backs that have had good nights. So offensive line has played extremely well so far, and we know it's just going to get tougher each week, so they've got to continue to get better. But real happy with their progress under Coach Skeet.
I'm sure you were a little concerned with Mattoon after their win over Triad in week 1, and you were able to, after kind of a slow start, nobody scored in the first quarter. All of a sudden, you look at the scoreboard and Marion's up 35-7 at one point in the game, and that had to make you happy that you were able to control the game that way.
Yeah, it felt good because I have a lot of respect for their program and their coaching staff and their history there, and I thought they were a quality football team on film, very well coached, very well disciplined team. And you know, I think it's always good to play quality programs and get a win. And but you know, we feel like there's things there we can build on and continue to improve.
We see and talk about the big names that we've talked about several times, but there were some plays in the game I thought were critical plays that may not get talked about a whole lot. First, Mattoon, I think it was the second or third quarter, I can't remember which one, but they're driving down the field with a chance to score and throw a pass into the end zone, and Jake Weaver makes an impact in his first game of the season with a big interception at the goal line.
Yeah, that was a big play. You're right. That was a big momentum swing for us, and a big play at a crucial time. And
I think it was actually late in the second quarter, and you went down and scored.
That's right. Ended up getting a touchdown there before the half, and started the third quarter with the ball.
Right.
So that was a big turning point, I think, in the game. I think momentum-wise and psychologically, I think it hurt them.
Another one, they had got to within 35-14, got the long punt return for a touchdown, and they're trying the onside kick, and not only do you keep them from keeping that momentum going, but you turn that around into a momentum swing for you. John Evans catches the ball on a hop and runs it in for a touchdown to really put icing on the game.
Well, it was a big play. I mean, they had to get the ball back, and we knew the onside was coming, and ball got a little bit to the outside, and John saw an opportunity with some grass in front of him and scooped it up and scored, and that was a big play. You know, it's one of those things I don't know that I've ever seen in a game I've coached in, but you know, big play, and John did a great job for us in the second half.
And here's another one that people aren't really going to think about, but it compares to me, not exactly the same. I don't think it was quite as important as the onside kick recovery by Tristan Reed in week 1, but late in the game, you're running out the clock, you've got your second unit offense in, and on fourth and short, you decide to go for it, and you know, you're thinking, okay, Henry, Logan, somebody like that. No, it's Doris, Jared Doris gets a handoff, and goes 7 yards and gets the first down to enable you to run out the clock, and that's not a name you figure to hear on offense very much.
Well, he's played quite a bit of defense for us, but he's a good running back. He's the guy that we may start seeing in the mix a little bit if John Dalton and Logan continue to play a lot of defense. So we're not afraid to put other people in there. Hunter Odom's another running back. We could see some action.
And he had some carries in the game Friday night.
And Tyrone Maples, Justin Nicholson, and Troy Slinkard are names we haven't used yet or haven't carried the ball yet, but I think they could be quality ball carriers. But we're trying to play as many kids one way as we can, or as often one way as we can. But I think from time to time you'll see other people contributing on the offensive side as a receiver or running back.
You mentioned Justin Nicholson, and I have to point this out. In going through the still pictures that I took from the game, or that we took from the game Friday night, plays where Mattoon has the ball and there's getting ready to be a tackle, number 45 is always in the frame. He's always around the ball, and it seems like he's got a nose for the football.
He does. Just a sophomore, but having an impact already, and he's improving. And kid we're going to count on for a long time, I think, and one of our many guys on this defense that we'll be back again next year. I think this year is a kind of a growing period for him, but I think they're picking up speed and playing better and getting some confidence.
You continue to get a lot of people mixed in. As I'm going through here thinking as we're talking, I'm thinking of another one, second play of the game, and they have a handoff, and Dontiel just goes right through the line and hits the running back for a loss of a couple yards. Again, names that may not have even started in this game, and names that are not familiar are going to become familiar because so many people are right at that very similar level, talent-wise and effort-wise.
Right, I agree with you. It's just that's when we're at our best, when we can get more people contributing like that. And Justin Nicholson and Dontiel and other people that may not be the so-called marquee players, which we don't like having any marquee players. We prefer if this is just a total team effort and everyone's contributing. And I appreciate the time that you take to recognize some of those young men that may not be in the statistics, the box score, but they're out there making a difference. And I think our offensive line with Connor Jackson and Brock Stiegel, David Akery, John Stutz, Austin Morrison have done such a great job protecting Matt and picking up some pretty good defensive schemes and doing a nice job.
Well, and it was kind of funny because you're talking about the offensive line too, and Brock had to come out in the game with a chin strap, a snap problem or something like that, and RJ Manfredo goes in, and you ran right behind him.
Yeah.
Ran right to his side right there in the game, and I don't know if that was planned or if that's just the way it happened or whatever, but a lot of coaches would have changed the play call right there, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I tell the kids all the time, if you're in the ball game, I'm going to treat you like a starter. Whether you are or not, I'm treating you like one. So when you may get the ball thrown to you, you may have to block someone play side, you may have to carry the football because I'm calling the play that I think is the best call for us at that moment, and it's time for you to step up because once you're in the game, you are a starter, at least for that play, and I have confidence that RJ can get it done.
You've got another tough game this week. Harrisburg comes to Marion. The Bulldogs are 2-0. They've played two quality opponents in Mount Carmel and DuQuoin in a tough, rain, wet, sloppy game. Fortunately for them on turf last week, they were able to beat DuQuoin 7-6. And I think the thing you pointed out right before we started here is that the one thing Harrisburg has done effectively, and they want to do again, is control the ball and keep the ball out of your hands.
Well, it's been their philosophy for a long time. Even when they were in the T formation, that was kind of their philosophy, and they do it well. Coach Roper does a great job of coaching his team, and they run essentially what is our change of pace offense, a form of it, and they want to get foot to foot and control the clock and use their big bodies up front to get 3, 4, 5 yards a pop and be very patient with the ball and keep it out of your hands. And so we've got to get some stops, and when we get the ball, we got to do something with it. And ought to be a great matchup of two contrasting styles. And
here's some of the stats for people that don't realize exactly what we're talking about. Last week, I think you said Harrisburg had 64 offensive plays. DuQuoin had 31.
Something like that, yeah.
In their first game of the season, they took the opening kickoff and drove, I think, 86 or 88 yards and scored with about 50 seconds to go in the first quarter. So they ran 11 minutes off the clock on their first drive. So that kind of puts in perspective what people can kind of expect on Friday night.
I think you're right, and that's the thing we're fighting. Is we've got to get some stops, we've got to make some plays, we've got to force them into some third down situations where they can't just continue with status quo offense. and they're good at it. And it'll tell you it's a real challenge for us. I love this kind of game because it forces our defense to step up and do some things different. And it's a great strategy. It's a chess match kind of game, I think. When you're looking at two contrasting styles, they want to do one thing, we want to do something else. It's exciting.
This is not only going to put pressure on your defense, but your offense is going to be thinking, if we don't get the ball, we're going to have to make it happen in a hurry. How do you kind of reel them in and say, hey, just follow the game plan and stick with the plan instead of trying to do too much in a hurry?
Well, we're not going to change really. It's a good question. We're not really going to change much of what we've done so far. I think it'd be a mistake for me to overcoach this and overanalyze it. And we're taking a look at our offensive play calls for the last 2 weeks, and we're analyzing what's been successful and what's not, and trying to figure out the plays that aren't working, why, the plays that are working, make sure we continue to game plan those. But we're not going to change a lot. Every week you have different wrinkles you do, and things maybe you've not done you'd like to do. In this situation it might work one week, maybe not another, but we're not going to change a lot. We want our offense to continue playing the way they played that's been successful so far this year. And then if we run into a situation we got to make an adjustment, we'll do that. But not going to overthink it. I just want my kids to be confident, go out and play. Every possession always matters. Every possession will matter on Friday. And we're confident that our defense can get us some stops and get the ball back to us and prevent some of those long drives.
And even though they're going to control the ball, they've got some playmakers and some kids whose names we keep hearing year after year after year are finally seniors. Roper, Henshaw, some of those guys, they're finally seniors, but they're still out there and they can make some plays when they need to.
Oh yeah, they got a great football team. I mean, big linemen, Henshaw and Roper, outstanding players. They could play for anybody's football team. 3A, 4A, 5A, it doesn't matter. I'll just be glad when they graduate. I'm sure the basketball coaches and the baseball coaches feel the same way, but they've been playing for so long and they've been so good. It feels like they're just never going to get out of high school. And I know that I hear that when they're talking about Shaquille or Matt Brown, or we've had those kinds of players that played. Derek Moore, sophomore through senior year, but they've just been a real credit to the game and a real credit to Harrisburg high school tradition. And so as I said, we have a lot of respect for them, but we're gonna have to do some things and get some stops and contain the big play.
The big thing that you have to really be pleased with is, in 2 games you've punted 3 times and turned the ball over once, and that's something that a lot of teams struggle with, is not being able to keep the ball and not taking advantage of their offensive opportunities, and that's not really been a problem for your team
so far. And that's, as I said, I hate to change very much offensively. I hate to deviate from what's been successful. I still think, of course, we're going to try to get better at all the things that we're doing, but not change what we're doing too much and just try to get better at it. I mean, I think we've been pretty good in tempo. We've been pretty good executing some of the plays we've been running and getting some rhythm on offense. And so we're going to go into it with the same kind of game plan. And we think we have an idea of what they're going to try to do on defense. We may get that, we may not, but we're prepared to do what we need to do and make it an exciting night.
Starting a 3-game homestand, and I know that means a lot of road games at the end of the season, but being home 3 weeks in a row probably feels pretty good.
It does. It's nice to be able to settle in and play in front of your home crowd and have a chance to win some ball games at home. And all 3 games are going to be tough. We know that. So it ought to be an exciting night. We look forward to a nice homestand and get our crowd behind us. That'll make a difference.
All right. Kerry Martin, head coach of the Marion Wildcats here. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.